Kyrie Irving traded to the Dallas Mavericks. News went down on Sunday, coming after 2 days after he'd made the trade request on Friday. Big bombshell that drops. No one really sees it coming. Kyrie had been strangely quiet and on his best behavior, obviously likely because of the whole contract thing and Brooklyn not giving him a contract. But that's likely the reason why things went down the way they did on Friday, to where contract negotiations likely were happening behind the scenes, not going anywhere. And then, despite the Nets, holding their ground without any KD, Kyrie, in typical Kyrie's narcissistic fashion, just says, fuck it, get me out of here, puts in the trade request. Brooklyn responds back by saying, fuck it, let's get rid of this guy. He didn't play on Sunday. No way, Saturday. The teams that were in the bidding for Kyrie were the Lakers. You had the Phoenix Suns in there, Dallas Mavericks. Even the Clippers got into the action. That was pretty surprising. But the team that ended up being desperate enough for Kyrie Irving services was the Mavs. You had the Mavs, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Los Angeles Lakers, probably the two most desperate teams for Kyrie. But from what I see, the Brooklyn Nets did not want to acquiesce to Kyrie's primary request, which was going to the Dallas Mavericks, just saying, screw you, buddy. We're going to send you to not your place you want to go. We're going to send you to another team. Obviously, the Dallas Mavericks aren't exactly the worst situation in the NBA. They're a playoff team. Playoff team, only 2 games above by 500 right now. But a team with an absolute superstar in Luka Doncic. And Dallas, as I mentioned, in that category of desperate teams, desperately on that search for another superstar to pair with Luka Doncic, as that roster that's around him obviously is not championship quality caliber, despite the advances they made in the playoffs last year. Most people knew, even with the West being as wide open as it kind of is this year, this is not a championship roster right here. So that's why Dallas was desperate enough to make this move. Desperate being the operative word, because they just traded for Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, when people show you who they are, believe them. And this man has shown who he is not once, not twice, 3 times, potentially going on 4 times with his new team. Those previous 3 times being how he completely nuked his situation in with the Cavs, with the Celtics, and then the Brooklyn. Each in a different way, but each in a sort of narcissistic, sort of a dysfunctional wreckage kind of way that only Kyrie can do. I said this when the trade request happened on Friday, that this guy is absolutely the worst teammate of all time. You have what goes down in Cleveland, to where he just decides, despite going to finals, winning a championship, playing on championship caliber teams, playing with the second greatest player of all time in LeBron, just decides, nah, this ain't really cutting it for me. I need my own situation, despite having 3 years of unbelievable team success. So that's how he nukes his first situation, goes to the Celtics. In year 2, it's an unmitigated disaster. You read the stories of what people in Boston said about that team, his leadership, the kind of quotes he said, the way it ended in the playoffs. This guy was just showed that you do not want to hitch your wagon in terms of building the franchise around this guy. He just ain't that guy. And it was just a disaster in Boston. Leaves them high and dry in free agency after, of course, in the beginning of the season, comes out with that bullshit quote saying, yeah, I'll stay if y'all will have me. Well, turns out he didn't want them, but look at that. Celtics are doing just fine without him. And then we get to the third team in the most catastrophic destruction that he went. A team that reportedly he wanted to go to his whole life, in the Brooklyn Nets. And from day one, it's really just a disaster. That first year, which is really under the radar now, with KD being out because of the Achilles, really was just a terrible leader. The team was better without him. Gave quotes, was just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? You get to the second year, misses time, leave of absence with the whole insurrection thing. All of that stuff, gets caught partying during what was supposed to be sort of hardcore COVID protocols, all of that nonsense. Year 3, refuses to get the vaccine shot. Obviously, that's an issue in itself, that whole thing. But regardless, this man decided, basically said, no, I don't care if I'm torpedoing my team's chances of win. This is about me. And if I'm going to have KD overworked, if I'm going to miss half the games, if I'm going to alienate James Harden, so be it. So this was a man that just put himself before the team and just decided, yeah, I'm just going to nuke my team's chances of winning a championship. After all of that, Brooklyn decides, yo, bro, we've had enough of this shit. Forget about that. We are not giving you a long-term deal. And that leads into this season to where he, in the typical Kyrie narcissistic fashion, can't comprehend, like, why wouldn't a team give me a deal? Well, it's because of your pattern of behavior, bro. And I haven't even gotten to the whole anti-Semitic thing, which he got suspended for, and the whole thing of how he was just a disaster with the media. I think what this showed, this trade request, was just that this guy is such a narcissistic, independent type thinker that it was just killing him on the inside. The fact that he had to suit up and play ball without a long-term deal, with Brooklyn telling him, sorry, we just can't give you that long-term deal because your behavior, as you can see, just ain't quite cutting it. And so that's what the whole trade request thing, you put 2 and 2 together with that happening, the desperation of the Dallas Mavericks, and you got the marriage between Kyrie Irving and the Dallas Mavericks. I think Brooklyn made off great in this deal. And I do mean great. Well, maybe great is kind of a strong word, but very good. It's about as well as you can do in terms of trying to stay viable for this year. Obviously, that'll depend on what they do with Kevin Durant. But assuming Kevin Durant suits up and plays and doesn't pull a disappearing act like Kyrie would probably do, I think they still have a decent team. Whether they're probably not as good as the top 3 teams in the East right now, but they got a puncher's chance if KD plays ball and stays healthy for the rest of the year. Getting the defender and Finney Smith, you bring back Spencer Dinwiddie, who's solid guard and all that kind of stuff. I think, for what they had to do, it was an all right trade for them. Probably like a B minus trade for their return. For Dallas, this trade, man, I mean, you're hitching your wagon. You've got Kyrie Irving not under contract for only the final 3 months of this season. Then he's a free agent. And you're banking on the partnership of him and Luka working out. I say good luck with that. Because Luka, despite everyone saying that the roster around him isn't quite up to snuff, it's kind of like his play style isn't the type where it's, super inviting to other superstars coming in. Luka is the definition of ball dominant. This guy controls the whole offense. He is the whole offense. Has carte blanche to take whatever kind of shot he wants to take, shoot as many times he wants to take, pass the ball, dribble the air out of the ball, and he's great. He's a great player, unbelievable offensive talent. But him and Kyrie Irving together, I would hate to be a teammate on that team. For one, in just the basketball sense, just being like, when the fuck am I going to get to shoot? Well, answer is you're probably not going to get to shoot or dribble the ball. These two, the dribbles, there should be an over and under every game in terms of numbers of dribbles for everyone except Luka and Kyrie. I would put it like under 20 would be my guess. It's just not going to be a whole lot of dribbling outside of those two. That's in the basketball sense. But just in the locker room sense, Kyrie, man, this guy is just an awful teammate. I heard Tony Kornheiser say this over on Friday when all this stuff happened on part of the interruption. I agree with him. This guy is the worst teammate of all time, man. This guy is a guy that you can't trust, can't rely on. He makes it all about him. He will leave absolute destruction in the path in whatever kind of situation he's in. And why anyone would try to hitch their wagon to this guy, I don't get it. In terms of offering a contract, I mean, I think he's kind of made it clear it's either going to be a fully guaranteed contract or he's just not going to, he's just going to be like, well, let me try to find the next team that's going to give me a guaranteed contract. If I was in that situation, look, I recognize his talent. The guy's an unbelievable basketball talent, but I couldn't offer him more than, I would say probably no more than a 3-year deal at max. And that would have to have a team options, stipulations, all of that kind of stuff. Because in reality, this is a guy that should be paid on a year-by-year basis because he is that unreliable, that terrible a teammate. And if you haven't guessed, I don't think it's going to work out between Luka and Kyrie, this marriage of him and the Dallas Mavericks. I just don't see it working. I think these two are going to get very frustrated at each other. Kyrie, you see the pattern of behavior. Something else will come up. Drama will come up. Try to just whatever you want to make it up. It could be anything self-inflicted, something with the media. It's just going to be a bad situation. And yeah, I with what the Mavericks gave up when Kyrie eventually leaves, and I do think he's going to end up leaving because I don't think this is going to work out between him and Dallas. I still think he wants to make his way to the Lakers. Gotta hope the Lakers don't touch him. That would not. I just hate Kyrie. No, don't bring him in there because he's going to destroy that franchise too. But when it just comes to Luka and Kyrie, I don't see this working in the basketball sense, team sense, whatever, dollar wise. I don't think the Mavericks will probably realize, and the same thing Brooklyn did, that, yeah, we can't give this guy a deal. And that'll be number 4 team that Kyrie leaves, total destruction in the wake of. Usually it's 3 strikes you're out, but when you are, I guess, have the type of basketball talent that he does, that he showcases when he does play, emphasis on that, you get, I guess, a 4th chance, and then he'll end up getting a 5th chance, and maybe after the 5th chance, people realize, yeah, it's probably not a great idea. So that's kind of my thoughts on the whole Kyrie thing, the trade that went down. Don't think it's going to work. This guy has shown who he is. Terrible teammate, terrible leader, terrible person to have in the locker room, unreliable. And yeah, I think teams should probably stay away, but Dallas is going to find out the hard way, which will be unfortunate for them, to say the least.